Welcome to our League of Women Voters conversation with the candidates. My name is Heather McNeil. I am the co-president of our local Andover, North Andover League of Women Voters. If you would like to get involved in our organization, we are a growing organization. You can find us on our Facebook page. Just look up North Andover or Andover, North Andover League of Women Voters, or on our website, or you can email us at league@lwv-andovers.org. And I'm happy to say, in case you didn't know, the League is turning 100 years old next year in 2020, which is wonderful. And I'm also excited to say that we are currently filming this conversation at the brand new North Andover Community Access and Media, the NACAM station, right on Main Street in North Andover. Yay, very exciting.
Maiden voyage.
Maiden voyage, yes. So as always, thank you very much to the NACAM staff. They work very closely with the League to put out election information for voters. Thank you very much to Brian Frazier, Susan Martin, Bill Robert, and Ray DeSilva, and all of the crew who work here to bring information and keep our citizens informed all year long. They're always doing great stuff for our community. So thank you. The 2019 election season finds that we have two unopposed candidates running for the Board of Selectmen and the School Committee. So I am joined here today by Rosemary Connolly Smedili. She will be running unopposed for one 3-year term on the Board of Selectmen. I am also joined by Amy Mabley, and she is the incumbent candidate for a 3-year term on our School Committee. So welcome to the both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Voters will head to the polls on March 26th, which is a Tuesday. You can vote in person at the North Andover High School between the hours of 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. If you would like to do absentee voting, you need to apply for an absentee ballot at the town clerk's office, or you could do so via the Secretary of the Commonwealth's website. You have to do that before Election Day, so before noon on the day before the election, which is March 25th. That's all that information. So given that we have two unopposed candidates this year, the League is not doing our typical forum or candidating style event. We're just going to be having a conversation, and we'll be talking with the candidates about their experiences, things that they are working on currently with their respective boards, why they chose to run again, and how the citizens, how you, the citizens, can get involved in the decision making of our town. So welcome, and we're going to begin with you, Rosemary. So if you could just kind of explain why you're running for another term, and maybe even how you got involved in working with the town in the first place.
Thank you. I think I'll talk about a little bit how I got involved in working with the town. It's kind of a little bit of a funny story. Former moderator Charlie Salisbury kept calling me to join the Finance Committee. I was a young mom with 3 kids, and he chose me because I wanted flags in the town and holiday wreaths. And he thought, oh, here's someone who's young and on the go. And he kept asking me, and I say, no, I'm too busy. And finally, 1 bagel and 1 cup of tea later at Pumpernickel's, and I joined the Finance Committee, and I loved it. And then from there, I have run for member of the Board of Selectmen, and it's I've really enjoyed it. Never thought I would do that, but I really do enjoy it. I love the town. So why am I running again? I think there's a few reasons. First one in particular is we are now looking for a new town manager, and I've been through this process before, working with new town managers, and I thought that this is probably one of the most important decisions the board would make, and that was my main reason for running. I also felt as though that we were in good financial standing and wanted to make sure that we continue with that. And the senior center, very important project. I actually was the one who suggested that we go for the site that we're going for, and we worked out quite a nice arrangement with the Minicucci family, Minco, and basically those are the main reasons why I am running, and look forward to serving again. I love the town.
Wonderful, thank you. Ms. Mably, Amy, yes, why did you decide to run again, and maybe how did you get involved in the first place?
Okay. So I got involved because I was very involved in my children's schools through the PTOs, and I was at one point served as PTO president for the Thompson School, elementary school, and through that I met a lot of other parents at the other schools because of certain meetings we attended, high school, middle school, et cetera. And so I really liked my involvement, and I wanted to find a way to expand that. I confess I did not fully understand that running for school committee was a political gesture, so I was a little nervous about that, but I'm really pleased that I did. I'm really proud of the work that I've been involved with in the last 3 years as a member of the school committee. I came in with a new superintendent, and at the end of 3 years we have yet another new superintendent, and we've also made some huge changes, adding the Ann Bradstreet Early Childhood Center, and a lot of other things, and I really want to continue the work. I feel like I've got a lot of energy. I'm excited about things that are coming up, and I didn't think it was the right time to leave our new superintendent either, so I wanted to remain engaged and continue the work that we've started.
Very good. Sometimes consistency is very helpful when you're working on such interesting projects and ongoing projects. Right. The next part of our conversation will be about like the budget and upcoming town meeting. So voters will have the chance to vote on the town's budget and some other issues at town meeting on May 14th. So we'll start with you, Amy. Maybe can you give us some of the highlights of the school's budget?
I should know, I think this is the 8th consecutive consensus budget that we've just supported, and that has gone through to the selectmen as well. We're kind of in a maintenance mode. We had a lot of big asks the last couple of years by going with the Ann Bradstreet Early Childhood Center. We needed to add some teachers to make that happen. As everybody knows, we do have a strategic plan, and we had a big issue that we were tackling, which was class size. And in order to take care of that, we needed to add more space in order to add more teachers. And so a big part of the budget this year is adding in some teachers, not only at the elementary school to fill in some of the space we made by moving to the kindergarten, but also looking at some other programming at the high school, for instance, to see about how we might offer extra classes. So mostly those are the kind of the main areas where we're looking to add. And the budget is presented and available online.
Wonderful. Yeah, and I think in terms of class size, I've also heard the middle school might be something that's coming up, not something that would be voted on this year, but that's a discussion that's been had. Yes. And I'm just curious about maybe some of the discussions that have taken place around the funding or how to push that project forward.
Yes. So we have now twice gone through for an application, I guess you could say, to the MSBA, which is the Massachusetts School Building Authority, to ask for, to show that we do want to do an expansion to our middle school. We do feel like we have class size issues there, which is, I think everyone's been pretty clear about in the school department. And the best way to tackle that is really to be able to add one more team per grade. Just like with the elementary schools, we could start squirreling away money to add those teachers, but we have nowhere physically to put them. Mm-hmm. So it's really a two-part thing that we need to sort out, is how to make the space and also how to add then the people who would deliver that education. So we have gone for the MSBA proposal twice and did not make it through. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean that our project isn't worthy. It just means that there are other people across the state who are in much more dire need, believe it or not, than we are. And so we just agreed and are putting forth again for an MSBA project, which would mean that they would help with some of the costs, but still we as a town would have to still be able to finance the project. So we put that through, but we also are discussing how we need to plan for other ways to make that happen, other ways to take care of class size, squeezing every inch we can out of the building until something else can be done.
Right. So that'll be future discussions.
Yes,
that
it's something we're discussing all the time.
Can get involved in.
Exactly, but there's nothing at town meeting at this point about something like that. But it is a discussion that is ongoing for us.
Very good. Rosemary, what are some of the highlights of the municipal side of the budget?
The budget this year is actually pretty straightforward. There's not a whole lot that is different than what we are not used to seeing on a regular basis. I just would like to comment on what Amy said. I think one of the best things that we have done, which we've done in the past and has continued, is the consensus budget, and our boards truly do work well together. Our town manager and our superintendent work terrifically well together. And in the interim, now that Andrew Mailer has left to work at the State House, I just want to rest assure everybody that our interim town manager is Lynn Savage, who's got a very strong background in finance. And we've also have Andrew Mailer on a contract to assist us as we go through the process. But getting back to what you were talking about, it was the planning ahead of preparing for the kids to go to the kindergarten, and so that it would not just be the shock of the kindergarten, but it would also be the fact that we were planning ahead with the teachers, expanding the budget, and that again was through a consensus budget and our boards working together, and which has been great. But on the town side, for the most part, we're again still trying to maintain financial stability, the AAA bond rating, the reserves, a lot of it again planning ahead, the special ed reserve, I mean, just great planning. The one thing that's a little bit different this year that people might find interesting in town meeting is that there will be a discussion again about the Stevens estate, whether or not that we should separate the estate from the land that we protected for the water supply. So that will be a little bit of an interesting debate. We did do what we call an RFP. We did get one company that seemed to be interested, but it didn't quite fit exactly what we were looking for. So again, that's just something for the townspeople to decide. Do we want to keep the estate together intact and still maintain the building, or do we want to separate the building from the protected land? So I think that that's probably one of the more controversial or interesting articles at town meeting this year.
Mm-hmm. Is that something people are discussing prior to town meeting at the Board of Selectmen meeting only, or is that something that's also at the planning board? Where could people go to participate in that discussion and get more information?
Well, there'll be a little bit more discussion about it as we review the warrant, as the Board of Selectmen review the warrant. You'll hear some of the discussion there. I do believe that it's being discussed with the historical commission and trying to get people's take on that. The planning board, I'm not sure. I think we could find out. One of the best ways to find out is, as Amy and Heather have suggested, is to just keep checking the meeting schedules. You can get those sent to you, and we can probably go into that a little bit more. There's ways where you can stay informed just by signing up for emails. And but again, a lot more of that will be discussed as we get closer to town meeting.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Yeah, and I've noticed too that a lot of the things that have happened within our town, whether it's the library renovations or building new schools, a lot of it's been done within budget, within the operating budget in a very planned out way. Do you anticipate that will continue to happen in the near future as more projects come to fruition, or how do you see us getting the revenue for the town in order to afford continued projects?
I think again, it's the long-range planning, it's the master plan, working things into the budget based upon need. You know, sometimes need will put something to, kind of to the top of the list, but it's also sort of strategically planning when this debt comes off, we can maybe take care of this. But I think there's a pretty strong consensus on the Board of Selectmen not to go after overrides, that we've done well working within our budget, and we hope to continue with that. I did propose a review of new hires on the town side that will project how much new hires cost, and so in making sure that it works within the budget and make sure that it is a valid decision and won't become, constant new hires with pay raises can be a budget buster. And with our post-retirement benefits is a huge budget buster. So the boards will be looking into that. We've asked the Finance Committee to look into that, and the Post-Retirement Committee to also just make sure that we're not spending money we don't have or spending our future away. So I think we're going to work very hard to stay within budget on these projects.
Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, well, related to that, actually I'm on that, the post OPEB, yes. Other post-employment benefits committee, we actually had a meeting last night, and we're working very hard to come up with a good action plan to make sure that we're putting aside what we need to put aside to be in good shape for that. So it's that's another reason why I've wanted to be part of this, is the opportunity to support work that's being done by being part of these other subcommittees and things like that. But when you're talking about planning, I think it's been very important, as Rosemary said. So the way we managed to get the Ann Bradstreet School built was through some planning, and when we put that proposal together, if people remember, there were 3 other key projects related to that I think are kind of on a master plan too, which are renovations to the Atkinson, the Kittredge, and the Franklin School. The Franklin School, for instance, the gym is half the size it needs to be, and cafeteria, things like that for the number of students. So those projects are on the docket to come through, as well as some changes to Kittredge and Atkinson. So that's all part of planning, and everybody knows those are coming. And I think that's why we started making people aware through the MSBA applications 2 years ago that something's coming. We need to be planning toward something for the middle school as well. So those are important processes.
Yeah. Is the school building committee, is that an active committee at the moment, even though we're not building anything? Are they involved in any of those discussions about the schools?
Not at this point, because they just finished up with the Ann Bradstreet construction, but that would be the next step. I don't know, honestly, if they're involved with renovations or new construction, but David Trissy is our representative on that board, and I think he's the chair of it, so I could certainly find out. But that is still an active group that lasts for a couple of years, I believe.
I think the thing that's really exciting, though, is that we're working with existing buildings. Partly that goes to the fact that these buildings were built quite well, and that we're not looking for brand new buildings at this time. And I think that's really exciting, and is to the credit of the school committee to, try to work with what we have,
right.
And expand or whatever, renovate. So that's very encouraging.
Well, and the fact that we can have time to make those renovations to the other elementary schools I mentioned is because we moved some of the kindergarten students, we now have more space. And for instance, I believe both Atkinson and Kittredge have moved where their library is because they have more space. They were crammed in a tiny space, and now they have room for their books and students to come into the library rather than the library coming to them, I think, in Atkinson's case. And then also, I think, an art room, for instance, at Atkinson. So the space that was vacated is going to be used for classrooms, but also there was other constrictive situations that have been already taken care of with existing personnel to make a better learning environment for the students at those schools.
Wonderful. Good. So people can come to the town meeting or attend all sorts of meetings and committee meetings prior to town meeting to get more informed about these issues, so that you can come and vote on May 14th. And some of the other things I wanted to talk about have to do with how the boards are collaborating around other town issues. So for example, our town manager search. So unfortunately, or fortunately for Andrew Mailer, he is now working at the state level, which is wonderful. So maybe could you both give us, maybe we could start with you, Rosemary, an update on the town manager search and how the boards are working together to find one.
I'm glad you asked me that. Town manager search is really off to a great start. We have a wonderful, diverse search team that each member of the Board of Selectmen chose a member to be part of the search team, and I think it's diverse and people who will work well together. We hope to, move this right along. I mean, not rush it too much, but we really would like to get a new town manager in place as soon as possible. I think the thing that people should be aware of, we've done a good job planning for this. We do have our interim town manager, Lynn Savage, who also has a very strong background in finance. And we've also contracted with Andrew Mailer to assist us in anything that we have questions for that we might need some help with. So the search is going well. We're working hard on getting a good candidate, but I think the most important thing is, and I think our biggest asset is us. As a community, our bond rating, our reserves, we have boards that work well together, particularly the Board of Selectmen and the school committee, and I think we're going to get a really great candidate. I really do, and I'm looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. How is the school board also involved in the search?
Well, I know that we went through a search for a new superintendent last year, and it was very important to us that we were working well with the town, because the relationship between the town manager and the superintendent is so critical. So I did actually go and speak with the town manager at the time when we were doing our superintendent search, and that's how important that relationship is for us. So I feel very grateful that my colleague Holly Vitsky Lynch, who has been appointed by one of the selectmen to be on this board. So while it's not official that someone on the school committee is a member of the search committee, it turned out that way, and I think that's great. A huge part of our budget, as we know, is spent by the schools, so I think that relationship is really critical. And I'm just glad that we have representation in that way.
And I think too that we will also be looking to the public to make their opinions and voices heard on what they're looking for in a town manager, as well as you said, the school committee and our other boards. So we will be looking for input. We are a community, and this is an important decision. And again, I think the cooperation, and I think we're in a good place to get a good town manager.
I also think that based on our mishap in the Columbia Gas situation in the fall, that we really showed what kind of a community we are. And I think a lot of people across the state actually knew about us through that, and really did learn about what kind of a community we are, how well we work together. And I'm hoping that, I would expect that people would want to work at a place like this. And so I think that's going to be part of another way we're going to get good candidates.
Wonderful. Well, that's the perfect segue into my next question. For you at home, you are looking at 3 people who were directly impacted by the Columbia gas explosions. So that was one of my next questions. How is the town going to deal with things moving forward? Is there anything else we're doing as a town to address the issues caused by the explosions?
Well, just to backtrack a little bit, I think one of the reasons that we have done so well is because we were so well prepared with our emergency management team of police and fire. Again, I get a little emotional. They performed unbelievably well. They kept calm. They did their job. The mutual aid, where we had communities, I mean, from so far away, I believe as far as Rhode Island all the way up till Maine, that came and helped us. The organization was fantastic. We had firefighters going into buildings that had gas fumes. We had our police department literally going door to door to pull the elderly and the handicapped out of their homes. And then after the event, the way the town came together, all the organizations, the schools, the sporting organizations, our religious organizations, it was just absolutely amazing how the town pulled together, and how the town stayed calm with all that they were been through, living in the cold, not having their homes. I could not be more proud of my town than in this moment where we were really tested and tried. So, and again, the State House, the governor getting involved, the Andover and Lawrence, the 3 communities working hard together. We were tested, and I think we came through really well. We do have some other things we need to take care of. Roads, some of our neighbors are concerned about their grass, and so forth and so on. We are still working with that. Columbia Gas has made themselves available. They had a meeting just on Saturday, and they're listening, they're helping, and they seem to be trying to help us where maybe some insurance issues have fallen short. So again, if you have any concerns, you can reach out to the town. They can put you in touch with Columbia Gas representatives who are still working hard. So I think we're about as good as we can be, and I think we've done a pretty good job. So.
Very good.
I thought it was particularly impressive how the communication was handled during that crisis. At the outset, then as things were going on over the several months, I thought the communication was excellent. And one way that maybe not everyone knows about, but there are lots of ways to get information and alerts in these situations, as well as information about town meetings, Board of Selectmen meetings, school committee meeting agendas, finance committee meetings, et cetera. If you go on our town website, northandovermass.gov, I think it is, in the upper right corner, there's a how do I, or how can I stay informed? And there are 3 areas that as subscribe and follow you can choose, or mobile apps or emergency alerts. And emergency alerts was the one that I think more and more people have subscribed to now when they found out about it after this event. But these are ways that through your email and texting you can get information about what's going on in the town. And strongly encourage people, if they don't know how to do that, to go to our website and fill out. It's just a little form. You click what information you'd like to receive in your email, and it's an easy way to keep in touch with what's happening. But I think a lot of people found out about it through the emergency alerts after this crisis.
I think if you are having trouble, you certainly can call Town Hall, speak to the clerk, speak to our IT person. I did find in some cases that depending on what your search engine is, that sometimes it's easier, it comes up quicker if you go to google.com, and the website that you had just named, it brings it up a little quicker and maybe a little bit more access. I've heard on some of the other search sites to get you to the North Andover website is not as user-friendly, but there's people there to help you. So call Town Hall, we'll get you on board, because it's a great way to stay in touch with the community.
And I like how you were both saying that, if you're still having issues, obviously Columbia Gas is still holding meetings. You can contact them, you can contact the town. And my next question was going to be about what else do you, as representatives of our town, think that our citizens should be contacting our state representatives about? So we have Diana DiZoglio, Tram Nguyen, Bruce Tarr, and Christina Minacucci. Besides, maybe if they're having issues with Columbia Gas, they could contact them, but what else do you think they should contact our representatives about to lobby for North Andover?
Well, there is an issue that's coming through by way to the State House that could potentially affect the town of North Andover. And what it is it's a State House mandate that would no longer allow residential zoning changes be done at town meeting by a 2/3 vote, a supermajority. What they are advocating and pushing is by a simple majority, meaning 1 vote. And basically what this is about, it is on residential zoning, not commercial industrial. So I think the best way to describe it is if your home is in maybe perhaps a single family neighborhood, acre plus, and there's a big lot of land nearby across the street, and somebody purchases, or the present owner decides to develop it, they do not need a 2/3 majority vote to change that zoning. But now you only need a simple majority of 1 vote. So for example, if a developer or landowner chooses to develop a parcel of land that's across the street from your house, which is single family, they can say, we would like it to be high density residential. They put it on the warrant, and instead of a 2/3 passage, they could pass by 1 vote. Along with that, the concern is we were getting fairly close to the 10% on our 40B affordable housing number, but with the census coming up really fairly soon, we might find ourselves not close to the 10%, but somewhat lower. So those 2 items could affect a community like North Andover that is a desirable community with land more than it might affect communities that are all built out. So it's something, I don't have all the particulars, it's something to watch out for, it's something to talk to our reps about, that there's a pretty good chance that this is going to pass and will have an impact on school enrollment and services if we don't get a better understanding and voice our opinion. We all need affordable housing, everybody agrees to that, but some communities like ours are impacted more than communities that really don't have land to build out on. So keep in mind with that, and do contact your reps to get the whole story straight.
Anything you think we should be talking to them about?
The key thing we talk to our legislators about all the time is the foundation budget review. It's been an issue for years, and it remains to be an issue. It's being discussed, but not a lot of action has been taking place so far. But happily, our elected officials did come to one of our school committee meetings recently, a couple of them, and they did talk with us and did mention the fact that they are advocating for us and working on that. So it's something to the public should be aware of, and if they have a chance to advocate, they should do so. But we do know that our local officials are advocating for us to really demand that foundation budget review and see what kind of extra funds that we really should be getting.
Very good. Well, I think we've discussed a lot of different ways that citizens in North Andover can get involved in the decision making in the community, coming to committee meetings, watching them. Again, they're posted on North Andover CAM's YouTube station, getting alerts from the town website, contacting any elected officials or town departments if you have any needs, questions, or things you want addressed. I think that's very important. And as always, you could also get involved in our local League of Women Voters by visiting our Andover, North Andover League of Women Voters Facebook page, our website, or contacting us through email. We hope to be seeing some citizen participation at town meeting, which will be on May 14th. But before then, they have a town election coming up. This year's town election, you will see Rosemary Connolly Smedili on the ballot for the Board of Selectmen and Amy Mabley on the ballot for our school committee. The election again is Tuesday, March 26th. Have your voice heard by showing up at the North Andover High School between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. If you can't make it, you can apply for absentee ballots by noon the day before the election, so that's the 25th. And again, we hope to see you at the election, at town meeting. Thank you for our candidates for joining us, and thank you as always to North Andover CAM for filming this conversation. Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.